Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Star Wars fans? Star Wars fans? Are you there? Are you there? Are we there? Hello? 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 What's up, guys? It's Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars here. Today we're going to talk about a lot of things. The Bad Batch episode 3 comes out tomorrow. Of course, you saw the thumbnail. We're talking about Thrawn versus Luke being a possibility somewhat in the semi-near future for this Mandalorian timeline. We're talking about a lot of crazy things today. That's what's going on. We're talking about a lot, and I mean a lot, of crazy things. I don't understand if we're going to be able to comprehend all that I'm going to talk about. Luke versus Thrawn. Whoa, what? Okay, so to start off, we're gonna start with something cool. Hopefully, we're gonna start off with the Bad Batch. So the Bad Batch season 2, episode 3. Last week we had 2 episodes. They were good. Not really like great. They didn't amaze me. I just didn't really care all too much about the show at all, but that's just me. Are we live? Like, what's going on? Oh, there we go. I was saying that I wasn't live for a second. I don't know what was going on, but we're good now, I think. Are we good? Are we good? Hello? Are we good? Do I have to restart this thing? Oh, we're good. Okay, so the Bad Batch season 2. Of course, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very cool. And we started off with a pretty good first 2 episodes. But it wasn't really that special. You look back to the first episode of season 1, where you had Kanan Jarrus, Caleb Dune, Order 66. You had the whole thing with Crosshair. Crosshair wasn't even in these first 2 episodes, but you did have some cooler things. Now, when we talk about the first 2 episodes, you can't not talk about going to Count Dooku's castle on Sereno. So this is Sereno. It's been destroyed, and they said it got bombed like Camino did, and that just means that they bombed the crap. The Empire came in and bombed the crap out of the city. But that means that Count Dooku's castle is still intact. And we actually go into his throne room, which was absolutely epic. This is Wrecker and Hunter pinned down in the throne room in Count Dooku's old lair, which it was so cool. And then, of course, everybody knows that Captain Wilco dies at the end because he didn't want to make a false report and cover up the fact that Clone Force 99 was still alive. So obviously, Admiral Rampart's going to be this kind of looming presence. He's going to be this weird bad guy who's kind of scared of Tarkin, doesn't want to get on Tarkin's bad side, so he's going to keep the Bad Batch a secret, maybe send some bounty hunters after the Bad Batch, and maybe do some other cool things to try and capture the Bad Batch or kill the Bad Batch. So now we have to go into predictions for this next episode. Now, this next episode is actually called, let me pull it up real quick. This episode is actually called episode 3. Episode 3, The Solitary Clone. Now this could mean a lot of things. The Solitary Clone. There's many clones out there that we know are kind of just on their own. We know Captain Rex. We know maybe they're talking about Crosshair being the solitary clone left, and everybody else is stormtroopers in the Empire. And maybe this episode will follow Crosshair through the whole episode. But I actually think it could be a completely different thing, and I think this could actually blow a lot of people's minds. The solitary clone. Now, there's a lot of clones, we know. A lot of the clones are being discharged and kind of just not being used anymore. We saw one in live action in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show asking for spare change on the side of the road. But other than that, clones kind of just disappear after Order 66. They aren't really around anymore. And I think the Bad Batch is going to do a good job of explaining where these clones went. We've had some people in the comments talking about how maybe this Plan 99 that is rumored to be one of the episodes, or actually confirmed to be one of the episodes, could be a like execute Order 99 and all the clones either kill themselves or do something along those lines, and all the clones will be gone. But when we talk about a solitary clone, I think it's one of only 3 options. Like I said before, Captain Rex. We know he's off doing his own thing, probably working with Ahsoka. Who knows what he's doing? Then you have Crosshair. Like we said, it could be a whole episode about Crosshair. And a lot of people want to see Crosshair. A lot of people's favorite character in the Bad Batch is Crosshair. Tell me in the comments if Crosshair is your favorite character. But I have another solution for you. You ready for this? The solitary clone is Boba Fett. Now, of course, Boba Fett is a clone. Yes, we know this. Boba Fett is a clone. But he's on his own, of course, solitary, as one would say. He's on his own, and he's a bounty hunter. Now, what did I just say about Admiral Rampart? He's trying to keep the Bad Batch being alive, surviving the bombardment of Kamino, a secret. He's trying to keep this hush-hush so Tarkin doesn't find out and the Empire doesn't know that he failed. So how are they going to do that? With bounty hunters. And what kind of bounty hunter? How about a young Boba Fett? Now, people have been wondering, what are Omega and Boba Fett going to actually meet? They're the 2 only unaltered clones, actual descendants of Jango Fett. And we've never seen Omega in anything else except for the Bad Batch, meaning that she most likely will die. But would we see Boba Fett in the Bad Batch Season 2 was a big question coming in. And now, even going right into Episode 3 of 16, right off the bat, I think we could get Boba Fett right away. Because I know this series is going to do crazy things later on. It's going to do crazier things with rescuing Gungi, with Mount Tantus, some crazier things for the future of Star Wars as a whole. But these Bad Batch characters are connected to the clones very much. And who is a unaltered clone just like Omega? Boba Fett. So do you think it's possible that we could see Boba Fett in this Bad Batch Season 2? And do you think it's even possible that we could see him in the very next episode being hired by Admiral Rampart to hunt down the Bad Batch and kill them off? That would be insanity. It would be wild. It would be absolutely wild. But I think it's possible. I think we could see Boba Fett, the Boba Fett, as a young bounty hunter. I know we saw him in Rebels a little bit, but I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. Star Wars Politics First in today says, hasn't one of the producers said we won't see him this season because they are on different journeys? Not saying it's impossible. He was one of the possible cameos in my video too. Yeah, so producers say a bunch of crazy stuff. I mean, actors say it too, to try and mislead you. I mean, why would they tell you that Boba's going to be in the season if he's in the season? That would kind of ruin the whole surprise or the whole just the coolness of Boba being there. So obviously producers are going to lie, actors are going to lie, but maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe they're on different journeys right now. But we already saw Cad Bane in the first season. We already saw Fennec Shand in the first season. We've already seen these big bounty hunters, and we know that Boba Fett learned a lot from Cad Bane. That's pretty much what the kind of duel in the Book of Boba Fett is all about, because Cad Bane taught Boba everything he knew, and now Cad Bane's really old, and so is Boba kind of, and they have this big duel. And maybe Cad Bane's dead. Do we think Cad Bane's dead? I doubt it. But yeah, so we've already seen Cad Bane in the first season, and he trained a lot with Boba, literally taught him everything he knows because he respected his dad, Jango. So, I mean, yeah, why not? Producers are going to lie. Star Wars Politics. I mean, everybody's going to lie in the show industry, especially in Star Wars. If somebody asks Dave and John, hey, is Luke going to be in that second season of The Mandalorian? They're not going to say yes. They're going to say, oh, he's off doing his own thing on his Jedi Temple or something. They'll come up with something, but they wouldn't say yes. They wouldn't just straight out say yeah. So it's possible. It is possible. And they are on different journeys. One's a bounty hunter right now, and one's trying to be a rebel. One's the Bad Batch are trying to help people, and Boba's trying to be a bounty hunter. But those paths can cross. They definitely could cross. So I definitely think that we could see Boba in this season, just just people saying that he won't show up it doesn't mean anything. So yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's definitely possible. Now, on the off chance that I'm completely wrong, which doesn't tend to happen all that much, but on the off chance that I'm completely wrong, the solitary clone could be Crosshair. That is a very valid statement because we didn't see Crosshair in the first 2 episodes. Crosshair wasn't even there. We didn't even get a glimpse of him at all in the first 2 episodes. So maybe, just maybe, Crosshair is the main character of this 3rd episode, and it's a lot just following him, and maybe he finds out that the Bad Batch are on Sereno, or were found on Sereno, or maybe even Admiral Rampart comes to him and is really mad at him because he knows that the Bad Batch are obviously still alive. He survived Camino. So maybe Rampart's like, how could you not tell me that they survived, blah, 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 and you're going to have to hunt them down. Which is probably a more likely situation, I know. I just want to see Boba Fett, a young Boba Fett bounty hunter, hunting down the Bad Batch. Is that too much to ask? But yeah, it's most likely going to be Crosshair. Finding out that the Bad Batch are on Sereno or still doing things, and him trying to hunt them down yet again. Star Wars Politics in again saying, I think Crosshair will be imprisoned and tortured. Now that's, okay. I see where you're going with that because of the fact that he survived Camino and they left him there to die and he's still a clone. So he's obviously going to be an outsider when he comes back to the Empire right after Camino. And I'm sure a lot of them don't even trust him anymore, and they don't think that he's the guy for the job and all that stuff, especially Admiral Rampart. So yeah, I could see him being imprisoned by the Empire. Tortured is a little bit of a stretch, maybe, I don't know. But I could see, there's still some clones around like Commander Cody, and we know, Captain Wilco was still there, and some other clones are still around. So they haven't completely cut off the clones yet. There's still a bunch of clones around. There's no complete cutoff. So maybe he gets imprisoned and tortured. I just don't see it going that way. I think he's going to come back and the Empire is going to welcome him with open arms because he followed orders. He's still following orders. He's still doing his thing. Did you guys see the lightsaber? Yeah, look at this thing. Bum bum. Yeah, this thing is so sick. If you guys watched the unboxing video yesterday, epic. This thing is so cool. It was awesome. Okay. Just had to shout that out real quick. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. Yeah, so definitely Crosshair in this next episode, for sure. He wasn't in the first 2. He's a main character still. He'll be in this next episode, for sure. Okay, enough Bad Batch predictions, whatever. We have to talk about something actually later, but we'll do that when more people show up. We got to talk about this Luke versus Thrawn thing. Now, this is actually kind of crazy, and we got to talk about it because I don't see Thrawn being like a Moff Gideon with a Darksaber fighting Luke. It would be over in 2 seconds. Luke versus a untrained with a lightsaber Thrawn, it should be over in 2 seconds. Luke has been training all these years now. He's a Jedi Master. It wouldn't last. It wouldn't last at all. But when we hear the rumors about Thrawn having a dark side Jedi who survived Order 66, came to the Outer Rim or to the New Beyond and turned to the dark side and has an apprentice now, those two, the apprentice and the master, could fight Luke, and they could set it up in a way that would be epic. Or maybe even Ezra has turned to the dark side and Luke has to fight Ezra. But this is what the article says. It's not that. It's not any of that. It's Thrawn versus Luke. So Disney Plus is setting up a Thrawn versus Luke Skywalker in live action. Now, this is still just a theory. But we like theories. Since December 2022, Lucasfilm has been using its Star Wars Disney Plus series as a stepping stone towards a huge crossover event. True. One that could pit Grand Admiral Thrawn against Luke Skywalker. So obviously this Mandoverse, it could lead to a movie, or it would just be in a big TV show that has this huge finale, but I'm most likely going to be a movie where there's this huge ending, this huge endgame level event with all these heroes, all these villains colliding in this huge war, probably in the New Beyond. But Lucasfilm first teased these plans as for a Mandoverse crossover during Disney's Investor Day in 2020. So back now 2 years ago, 2 and a few months. A mere 8 days ahead of young Luke Skywalker's cameo in the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. But this wasn't the only bit of curious timing. Ahsoka Tano, played by Rosario Dawson, had just made her leap into live action in The Mandalorian when the crossover was announced. In Chapter 13, she wasted no time letting the audience know her own series antagonist would be, of course, Grand Admiral Thrawn. 2 characters from 2 solo series have brought back 2 major Star Wars personalities, a hero and a villain. Yes, Ahsoka, Thrawn, and Luke. Here's how Disney Plus shows have and will continue to set the stage for a Luke versus Thrawn showdown. We're talking about a showdown between Luke versus Thrawn. Following the Luke Skywalker's triumphant return, fans discovered that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau had a spin-off series on the docket, The Book of Boba Fett. Yes. Set at the same time as The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett focused on Boba's personal post-Sarlacc pit experiences, while educating audiences about Star Wars crime lords, including now Boba Fett. Boba Fett is a crime lord, as well as the Pikes. Well, the show itself wasn't received well. That's an understatement. Fans loved the live-action introduction of Cad Bane. Yeah, he's one of the best bounty hunters other than Boba, other than Din Djarin now, but he's one of the best ever, and he was introduced in the live action in the Book of Boba Fett. And the episodes involving Mando, particularly episode 6. Now, this is the Grogu and Luke Skywalker training episode. This was because, at the time, many assumed The Mandalorian's Luke Skywalker cameo was a one and done. They didn't think we would see Grogu again. They didn't think that we would see Luke Skywalker again. But not only did his return suggest the opposite, but that his episode 6 exchange with Ahsoka set the stage for him to appear in her solo series and beyond. So here's what we're talking about right now. A lot of people tended to think, after watching the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, that Luke Skywalker appearance was just a one-and-done thing. We weren't going to see him anymore. We weren't going to see Grogu anymore. We weren't going to see any of those characters anymore. Then, the Book of Boba Fett comes out, and there's a whole 45-minute episode with Luke Skywalker training with Grogu, and Grogu has to make the decision whether to keep training or go back with Din. He obviously chooses Din. But we have a whole 45 minutes of Luke Skywalker, a young Luke Skywalker trying to train Grogu. And he has conversations with Ahsoka Tano. And Ahsoka Tano is his dad's Padawan. Anakin Skywalker's Padawan is Ahsoka Tano. So that's a lot of crazy stuff right there. A family friend, she even says in the show. But this could mean that Luke Skywalker could show up in the Ahsoka Tano show, which would be wild. It would be insanity if Luke Skywalker is showing up in all these projects. The Ahsoka show, maybe even Mando Season 3, and other things beyond that. He's got the connections now. He knows who Din is. He knows who Grogu is. He knows who Ahsoka is. So he could show up in anything. Literally anything. All right, let's keep going. The Star Wars Mandoverse to come. So it's just really getting started, honestly. We've gotten 2 episodes of The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett, and that is it. While more than 2 years have passed since the Mandoverse crossover tease, The Mandalorian's sophomore season, fans expected that all to change in 2023. In the coming year alone, Season 3 of The Mandalorian will finally arrive, followed by Ahsoka. whose supporting cast is largely made up of live-action cast of Star Wars Rebels, which is hype. Star Wars Rebels is hype. And that, of course, includes Grand Admiral Thrawn, being played by Lars Mikkelsen. He voiced Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels, and now he's going to be playing Thrawn in live action. Now this is where it gets fun. Real fun. But Ahsoka and Mando aren't the only shows on the horizon that are both connected to the and premiering in 2023. Brand new Star Wars series, The Skeleton Crew, is expected to premiere sometime this year in 2023. And if reports are to be believed, it is set in the new region of space that will first be explored in Ahsoka. So this is the new Beyond, obviously, they're talking about. And where Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn will finally be found. They've been missing for years now in the Star Wars canon. In real time, I think it's been like 5 years since they've disappeared at the end of the Star Wars Rebels finale. So it's been a long time, and many, many people are still wondering, where the heck are Thrawn and Ezra? These same reports also claim that Ahsoka will have a cameo in Skeleton Crew. Ahsoka will be in the Skeleton Crew show. And the events in that show will impact Season 4 of The Mandalorian. So not only will the Ahsoka show lead into the Skeleton Crew show, and Ahsoka will be in the Skeleton Crew show, but all these events will impact Season 4 of The Mandalorian. Are you with me so far? So now, all these things being connected this year, between The Mandalorian Season 3, the Ahsoka show, and the Skeleton Crew, all being connected and all leading towards Season 4 of The Mandalorian. It gets even crazier, so stick with me. And here's why Luke Skywalker and Thrawn are on a collision course. This is it. As Favreau and Filoni, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, yes, I said that correctly, grand connected plan continues to unfold. It is important to note that the two characters they are bringing up are already connected. Long before the Mandoverse and the Disney definition of Star Wars canon, Thrawn was a key villain in the Star Wars first post-Return of the Jedi era, where he was the antagonist. He antagonized original trilogy characters, including Luke Skywalker. So this is the heir to the Empire, obviously. Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy books that are non-canon now. Heir to the Empire is non-canon, aka Legends material in 2014. But Filoni made the character canon once more through Star Wars Rebels. But even without Zahn's, so the guy who wrote the books is named Zahn, and of course the character's name is Thrawn. But yeah, but even without Zahn's books, an exchange between Thrawn and Luke seems inevitable. We're talking Thanos level inevitability right here. This is because at the point in the Star Wars timeline, Luke is looking to rebuild a Jedi Order, and thanks to the Book of Boba Fett, he now knows he's not the only one who is training with the Force connection. We're talking Ahsoka Tano. We're talking Grogu, of course. That number will only grow when Ahsoka debuts the live-action version of Ezra Bridger, leading him to cross paths with Thrawn. So we're talking about Luke Skywalker and Ezra Bridger scenes. We're talking about Luke Skywalker and Thrawn scenes. We're talking about a bunch of crazy, crazy things. It also is worth noting that Thrawn has a history with both Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. Now, this is a canon novel we're talking about right now. And no doubt, the Imperial leader will have a grudge against Luke for bringing down the Empire. But what will a canon conflict between the son of the Skywalker and the Chiss genius look like? So what's expected between a Luke versus Thrawn? So now we're talking about Luke versus Thrawn. Again, we talked about this at the beginning of pulling up this thing. It can't be a Luke Skywalker fully trained Jedi Master with a lightsaber versus Thrawn with like the Darksaber, or Thrawn with like a Beskar steel spear. That's not how it's going to work. Luke would smack him so quick, and Thrawn knows that. Thrawn is a very, very smart guy. Think of like Sherlock Holmes meets Star Wars. Like that is Thrawn. Thrawn is just the best. But he would never win a lightsaber duel. He would never win a duel in general versus Luke. And he knows that. So he would have a whole army. He would have maybe a Dark Jedi, a Jorah Sabaoth brought into live action. Maybe a cloned version of Luke himself, Luke Skywalker. Now we're talking about legends. We're talking about the heir to the Empire and what actually happened. Dave loves to take things from legends and bring it into live action and just change it a little bit. So is it possible we could see a clone version of Luke Skywalker, or a Dark Jedi clone, or just a Dark Jedi in general that Thrawn has come to know and be friends with, and for some reason this Dark Jedi will fight for him and fight Luke Skywalker for him. All this stuff, all this insane stuff is possible to happen this year. We're talking about The Mandalorian Season 3 could introduce Thrawn, could introduce his presence in the galaxy. The Ahsoka show is going to explain where Thrawn has been this whole time, why he has this undead army. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. And how he's friends with this Dark Jedi and the Dark Jedi's apprentice and all this crazy, crazy things. And then the Skeleton Crew is going to explore more of this new beyond. It is just going to be a wild year for Star Wars in that Mandalorian timeline. And it all starts with The Mandalorian Season 3 on March 1st. It's going to be wild. I can't wait. I literally can't wait. It's going to be insane, and I can't wait. So what did I just say? Thrawn's going to have an undead army. Have you heard of this? I've talked about it a little bit on streams. I haven't made a video yet. Might make a video this week about Thrawn's army. So Thrawn's getting an army. An undead army. We're talking about stormtroopers. We're talking about stormtroopers that are all broken up and put back together by Sith, dark, whatever, force magic, whatever you want to call it. It's magic. And these stormtroopers are brought back to life by this Sith magic, whatever you want to call it. Magic. It's magic. And they're brought back to life. And they're held together by these gold, like Kylo Ren's helmet in Rise of Skywalker has that red lines through it and stuff. It's going to be gold, and it's going to be on stormtrooper armor. And this is going to be Thrawn's army. And he's probably going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of these clones because he needs a big, big army to fight Luke Skywalker and fight Ahsoka and Din and all these people. But here's how I think it's going to go down. I think Mandalorian Season 3 is going to introduce us back to Mandalore. And we're going to realize in that show that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of Mandalorians still around. They just haven't been able to have a home on Mandalore, so they've been spread out across the galaxy. So I think that all these Mandalorian are finally going to be back together. And they're going to have an actual home on Mandalore if they rebuild Mandalore. And maybe a leader in Bo-Katan or Din Djarin. So there'll be this Mandalorian army ready to fight. But who are they going to fight? Thrawn's undead army. So I think it's going to be, it's going to stay away from affecting the sequel trilogy because of the fact that no Mandalorians are in the sequels, not a single one. We don't go to Mandalore in the sequels, not at all. This new Beyond didn't exist in the sequels. Thrawn doesn't exist in the sequels. Undead stormtroopers don't exist in the sequels. So they're trying to make something epic happen, and this epic thing that happens has to have zero connection to the sequels because the sequels are canon and they exist. However you feel about the sequels, they're canon and they exist. But it's like, do you actually think that they would do something so bold and not connect it to the sequels? Star Wars Politics in again saying, who takes the Darksaber at the end of Season 3 of The Mandalorian? I think it's Bo-Katan. I really do. I think it's going to be Bo-Katan, and I think Bo-Katan is going to become the ruler of The Mandalorian. I just don't see Din wanting to, if that makes any sense. I don't think Din Djarin wants to be the ruler. I think he's fine being a bounty hunter / Grogu's dad. And I don't think that anybody else would want to be ruler except for Boba Fett. We made this video a few weeks ago about how I think Boba Fett could come in as a third round entry and come in and just maybe destroy Bo-Katan and become the ruler of Mandalore, which is, again, out there, but it's possible. But it's a possibility, and I would like to see it, honestly. But Bo-Katan is most likely going to be holding the Darksaber at the end of The Mandalorian Season 3. Star Wars Politics, and again, saying, I really wish all this didn't connect to the sequels. I just feel like it won't make any sense. So here's the problem with that. It all has to connect to the sequels. The sequels are canon. I know people love the sequels. People hate the sequels. All that crazy stuff. However you feel about the sequels, throw it out the window, because I'm about to blow your mind right now. The sequels are one bad year. From the beginning of The Force Awakens to the end of The Rise of Skywalker, it's about a year and a half. And if Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau can pull this off, this huge war between Thrawn and his undead army in this dark side Jedi, whatever you want to call them, versus Mando, Bo-Katan, the Darksaber, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, and an army of Mandalorians in this huge battle, probably in a movie. Probably this all would happen in a movie, if not a gigantic show that has millions of viewers. But most likely on the movie screen. I would really hope it happens on the movie screen. This huge fight, like one of the biggest battles in Star Wars, in the Skywalker saga, bigger than the Battle of Exegol, probably. But it would happen in a different area, right? If that can happen in the Star Wars canon before the sequels and not even be mentioned in the sequels by Luke Skywalker, who was there, there's hope for Star Wars. And now, this is where it gets crazy. If this gigantic battle could happen and it's not mentioned in the sequels, none of the characters know about it in the sequels, Rey, Finn, Kylo Ren, they don't even know about this battle, then a lot of things could happen around the sequels, outside of the sequels, during even that same year of the sequel trilogy. Bigger events could happen with Din Djarin, with Grogu, with Luke Skywalker even. It's like they could... It's like the sequels could exist, but they could just be an off-branch story. I know the main characters are there, Luke, Han, Leia, but it could still be an off-branch story, and the main story of this Mandoverse could continue through the sequels. And the people who don't like the sequels can just see the Mandoverse as its canon. The people who like the sequels can see both as their canon, and I think Dave Filoni is the guy to save all of this. What's up, Darth Lopez? Darth Lopez insane. Star Wars Avengers by Dave Filoni. Yes. That is the next movie to come out for Disney Star Wars, is called Star Wars The Avengers. Exactly. Star Wars Politics Insane. I actually wanted them to connect to make them better, lol, but I just don't see how they can have this late conflict with Thrawn and it never be mentioned in the sequels. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they have this gigantic conflict with Thrawn, this huge army of undead versus a huge army of Mandalorians, with Luke Skywalker actually being there, and it's not even mentioned in the sequels, then I feel like the sequels are just irrelevant. All the stuff that happens in the sequels, you can watch it, you can enjoy it, you can see it as canon, but it doesn't really matter because they don't mention what could be the biggest battle in the Skywalker saga between Thrawn and his army of undead and a dark side Jedi versus Luke, Ahsoka, Din Djarin, Grogu, and Mandalorians. I think, honestly, Dave Filoni is the savior, and like Darth Lopez said, he could create an Avengers level Star Wars film or Star Wars show and just make it better, you know? Star Wars Darth Lopez says, I'm not buying it. But hey, it's a strategy to make us forget the sequels. I understand. I get it. It's tough to do. The sequels exist. They're going to exist. They're not going to retcon them. Disney made a lot of money off of them, and they will never actually admit that they're wrong. So I think what Dave Filoni's very tough task is to do is to make people like something more than the sequels that happen at the same time as the sequels, if that makes any sense. if the Mandalorian timeline continues this way, and all the events of the sequels are still happening, but in a different corner of the universe or in this new beyond, something cooler is happening, maybe it's possible that that Dave Filoni could save everything that people don't like about the sequels. Darth Lopez in again saying, but I would be happy in seeing Rey again 100%. Okay. I don't know if that's a joke or what, but Rey is obviously going to show up again. Daisy Ridley has been in talks to come back. We've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. How she's been having meetings with Lucasfilm, how she's likely to come back. And we know that the next movie that Star Wars is making in 2025 will be a sequel movie, which is crazy. It's going to be an all-new cast because, of course, the Skywalker saga is over. But it's going to be an all-new cast, and some sequel characters are going to be referenced or show up in the movie itself. But yeah, I definitely think you're going to see Rey again. There's no getting around that. You're definitely going to see Rey again. She is the last Jedi, as it were. Star Wars Politics in again saying, but so many of these current projects are referencing the sequels. True. But they also want to bypass the sequels. I truly don't understand how they will do it. So yes, they're going to reference the sequels. They had that Snoke scene in The Mandalorian Season 2 where you heard Snoke's theme and you saw what looked like Snoke clone in a bacta tank. They're going to reference the sequels for sure. You can't get around that because the sequels do happen. So the events that come down the line, like Palpatine returning, Palpatine cloning, creating Snoke, even Luke Skywalker creating his Jedi Temple and it being destroyed by Kylo Ren, all that has to happen. So, yes, this Mandalorian timeline has to lead up to those things and maybe even hint towards those things, but they can hint towards those things in a fun way, and they don't have to actually explicitly say, this is what's happening and this is why you have to go watch the sequels, if that makes any sense. Darth Lopez in again saying, no, I'm serious. She deserves another shot and it wasn't her fault. I truly agree. The way that they set up her character in The Force Awakens to be awesome and then completely just crap on her character in the next two movies, it was really bad. It was really bad. I think that Rey deserved better, sure, but I definitely think Kylo Ren deserved way, way better, and we see what they did with him. They literally killed him off in the last few minutes of the last movie for no reason at all. No reason. None. So yes, it's all leading to the sequels, sure, but there could be this huge battle between Thrawn and his undead army, and Luke and Ahsoka and Din and Mandalorian army. You're talking about the old Mandalorian wars between the Mandalorian and the Jedi. Now you're talking about a huge Mandalorian war between the Mandalorians and Thrawn and his undead army. So now you have to ask the question, why would the Mandalorians want to fight against Thrawn and his undead clone stormtrooper army? That's a great question. Because Thrawn is Empire. He is what is the remnants of the Empire. And a lot of people have connections to Thrawn that are Mandalorian. Think Bo-Katan. Think Sabine Wren, who's going to be in live action now. So yes, Thrawn has a history with the Mandalorians, and the Mandalorians have a history with Thrawn. So they are already natural enemies. Star Wars Politics in again saying, I think Ahsoka dies before the sequels. That remains to be seen. So she does talk to Rey in Rise of Skywalker. She's one of the people who call out to Rey and tell her to rise. But when Dave Filoni was asked this, he said that doesn't particularly mean that she's dead. It's a possibility she is still alive. Now we know that her species age differently. They actually live longer than humans in Star Wars, so she could possibly still be alive. But I do agree with you. I think Ahsoka definitely dies before the sequels because Luke knows her, and other characters know of her, so her not appearing in the sequels again would make no sense. It's like her appearing in the original trilogy makes sense because we know what she's doing, or we kind of know what she's doing. She's looking for Ezra and Thrawn the whole time, and she doesn't want to interfere. But we don't really know what she would be doing during the sequels, and why wouldn't she show up during that time at all? It wouldn't make sense. It would just kind of be like, oh, Ahsoka's not showing up again. What's up with that? I think she will die before that. And maybe she dies to Thrawn in this Dark Jedi. Who knows? Maybe she dies in this big war. knows. All right, I'm going to put up a poll. So we got to talk about this. Now that we got some more people in here, we got to talk about this. So watch parties. The watch party last week was fun. Don't get me wrong, it was fun. But waking up that early in the morning, right, to watch it and then go back to sleep and sleep all day, and it just kind of threw me off completely last week. And the Bad Batch did not blow my mind as much as I would like to have to. So we're definitely going to do watch parties for The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka show moving forward. Don't do what? This watch parties? So we're going to do a poll right now. So there is an alternative. So we're going to do a poll, and the two options are going to be watch parties, and yeah, it's just that, or it's going to be 2 live streams a week and possibly a 3rd gaming stream a week. All right? So let's put that poll up right now. Oops. Let's put this up right there. Start a poll. Actually, should we do it? Wednesday night? Ooh. See, people like to do it when it immediately comes out. Well, let's just make the poll. What do we do? Question mark. All right. Watch parties? At 3 a.m. or 2/3 live streams a week, possibly. Okay, well, possibly one of those live streams will be a gaming one. All right, answer that thing, because I got to know. Do I wake up at 3 a.m.? I mean, it wasn't worth it last week. The Bad Batch was good, just wasn't that good. That was the problem. It would just be devastating because episode 3 is going to be 20 minutes. I wake up at 3 a.m., watch it for 20 minutes, and it just is not worth it at all. Okay, right now we're sitting at 100% for 2 to 3 live streams a week, and that's where I think it's probably going to sit. I'll leave it up for a while, but yeah, the watch parties just don't seem to be it for the Bad Batch. Definitely doing them for the Mandalorian and the Ahsoka show, hands down. Don't get me wrong. I'll wake up at 3. I'll wake up at 1 in the morning. I don't care. I'll do it. The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka show is definitely worth it. The Bad Batch is just not. It's not, and it doesn't seem to be for a lot of people. But yeah, okay. So yeah, we're sitting at 100% still. So yeah, it seems as though we're going to do that. So now it's of the question, when will we do those live streams? I'm definitely thinking Tuesday, Thursday is probably the best time for me, both at 1 p.m. And then maybe we'll do a gaming stream over the weekend, maybe a Saturday night. If not, I don't know. We're going to be playing Jedi Fallen Order in preparation for Jedi Survivor, and maybe even some Lego Star Wars, which would be very, very fun. Yeah. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Watch parties are out, I think, for now. The Mandalorian, of course, March 1st will be there. But for now, Bad Batch, no. But we'll still be breaking down the Bad Batch episodes. We'll still be doing all the breakdown videos and all that stuff. But yeah, for now, we'll do 2 live streams a week. Boom, there. Boom, got it. Done. So now we'll be going live on Thursday instead. We can talk about the Bad Batch episode. We can talk about all the other news that comes out over the next 2 days and all that stuff. Saves me having to wake up at 3 a.m. I can wake up early, like 7 now, and watch it and get the breakdown out still very early for you guys, but I just won't have to do it super duper early. Did you guys notice that I was so tired last week that in the breakdown video, in the thumbnail, I wrote breakdown, but I spelt it wrong. It was B-R-E-K instead of B-R-E-A-K. And it was up there like that for like 3 days, and I didn't even notice because I was so tired that morning. I just posted it, went right to bed, didn't even notice. Nobody even told me. And And it just stayed like that for like 3 days until I finally noticed. And it was devastating. And it was hilarious. But yeah, that was funny. How could none of you have told me that? You couldn't just put like a little comment saying, break is spelt incorrectly. Breakdown is not spelt like that, you idiot. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for nothing. Darth Lopez in again, saying if they're smart, she's in hiding with little Jedi, letting the sequels take place. Ahsoka, letting the sequels take place so they're not compromised, and she comes back, passing the torch to Rey. So you're talking about Ahsoka Tano. So Ahsoka Tano showing up, or what she's doing during the sequels. If they're smart, they will have her still exist, still survive, but she's off with little Jedi. I don't know who that would even be. Maybe she's off with Ezra, and maybe she's off with Ezra and what's Kanan's son's name? What's Kanan, Jarrus, and Harrison Duel's son's name? Completely blanking on it. Whatever. She's off with them, maybe training with them. Often maybe the New Beyond on a mission, maybe. Again, it's just 1 year, so yes, she could show up with Grogu and show up with all these other characters after the sequels and introduce them to Rey and maybe pass the torch to Rey. We know Rey is going to start her own Jedi Temple, hopefully, and Finn could become a Jedi, hopefully. Well, we will see. We will see. Star Wars Politics, and again saying, I want Ahsoka to come back and make the new order or light side users called Skywalkers. Whoa. So you're saying you want all light side users to be called Skywalkers? I'm confused. But yeah, it would be cool to see Ahsoka be involved in the new order because of how she saw that the old order was corrupt. She saw how bad the order was corrupt and how she had to actually leave the old Jedi Order in the prequels. And now she could recreate a one that is a lot better than that. Darth Lopez says, yup, you see what I'm getting at. Yeah, Ahsoka should definitely survive the sequels. I agree with you. Star Wars Politics says, a great way to preserve the legacy of Anakin, an order of Force users geared towards keeping the balance. So you're saying the Chosen One, who was completely neglected in the sequel trilogy, should have still an impact on the future generation of Jedi and the future order of the Jedi. I completely agree with you, and you think that Ahsoka could be that connection, and Ahsoka could be the girl who comes in and makes it so that nothing like Anakin could happen. The secrets that the Jedi kept, the way that they treated Anakin, all that would be avoided because Ahsoka's involved, and Ahsoka is creating this new Jedi Order that is better. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? I think that's what you're saying, and I think you're completely right, 100%. Let me take down this poll real quick. Yeah, 100%. You guys all said we're doing 2 live streams a week. Perfect. Yeah, we'll do the watch parties for sure when The Mandalorian comes out and stuff like that. And I'm sure we'll get a lot more viewers on that because more people watch the live action stuff. There's no sense in denying it. Live action stuff gets more views. But what do we think about this Luke versus Thrawn? Do you actually think this will happen? I know we're talking about Ahsoka and the sequels right now, but let's get back to the main topic. Luke versus Thrawn. Do you think it's just going to be a giant, like, all-out battle, bigger than the Battle of Exegol, bigger than the Battle of Endor? Do you think it will be a huge battle between this undead army that Thrawn has, this dark Jedi that Thrawn has, and Thrawn himself versus the Mandalorian and Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano and Din Djarin and Grogu and all that fun stuff? And do you think, personally, that will end on the movie screen? So Star Wars Politics says I don't think so. So what do you think this is all gearing towards? What do you think The Mandalorian is going towards? You don't think we'll see a Luke Skywalker versus Thrawn at some point? Many people have mentioned this in the comment sections of videos that this is kind of just George Lucas's what he wanted the sequels to be, just developed with Thrawn instead of Darth Maul. They're saying that Darth Maul was supposed to be the big bad in the sequel trilogy that George Lucas had. He was supposed to be the leader of the underworld, kind of, and maybe Thrawn is being set up to be this new big bad, like the heir to the Empire. Star Wars Politics says it will happen in the New Beyond without Luke. So you don't think Luke will even be there. Now that would explain why he doesn't talk about it at all in the sequel trilogy. I see where you're at with that. But I think this is such a big thing to happen in the galaxy that I think not only Luke should be there, but Han Solo and Leia should be there. And I know they're in the sequels, they don't mention the war, blah blah bloobity blah, but who cares? Who cares at this point? Just throw them all in there, have them be there. We want those three characters on the screen at the same time because we didn't even get that in the sequel trilogy. They aren't on the screen at the same time. It's crazy. I just think, why lead up to this big Thrawn level threat during the time between Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith and not have Luke be there and not have Han Solo be there? Think about Han Solo's connection to Boba Fett. That has never been fleshed out. Even Kiara and the Crimson Dawn, who should be around right now, who aren't for some reason, have a connection to Han Solo. And even have a connection to Darth Maul, even though he's dead now. I think the Crimson Dawn could still come in. We don't know if Kiara's alive still. We don't know what's going on with her in general. But I think she could still come in. I think she's still a possibility out there to be a late entry, you know? Like Boba Fett will be into the battle for the Mandalorian throne. That's what I'm thinking, at least. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, you got Boba Fett being this new crime boss, possibly wanting the Mandalorian throne. We don't know that yet. You have Din Djarin and Bo-Katan, who both want the Mandalorian throne. You have Luke Skywalker. You have hopefully Harrison Ford coming back to play a young Han Solo in The Mandalorian Season 3. You have possibly them CGIing Carrie Fisher again because she has passed. And you could get all three of them on the screen together. We're talking greatness. We could see. Finally, after all these years. The sequel's literally like, after all these years, all these characters are back. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, Carrie Fisher's Leia Organa, Harrison Ford's Han Solo. And what are we going to do? Not put them on the screen at the same time. What are we going to do? Kill one of them off every movie. What are we going to do? Make Star Wars fans extremely upset for no reason. That was the plan from Star Wars. But yeah, I think it could be a perfect time to bring all three of those characters back together. We know that Leia is in the Senate, but she gets taken out of the Senate because of her connection to Anakin Skywalker. And yeah. So Star Wars Politics, and again saying, I just don't think that Luke versus Thrawn happens. Especially if the same guy who purposely made sure Anakin and Grievous didn't meet in the Clone Wars. That is true. So Anakin and Grievous, through the entire 7 seasons of the Clone Wars, don't even meet. We see Grievous versus Ahsoka. We see Grievous versus other people. But because of the one line in Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin goes up to Grievous and says, "You're shorter than I expected," because of what Ahsoka says to him in the Clone Wars when she says that he's this huge, like, scary-looking dude, that one line is the reason that Anakin and Grievous don't meet in the entire 7 seasons of the Clone Wars animated show. So yes, Dave Filoni knows his stuff. He knows that characters can't meet, but why can't Luke and Thrawn meet? There's no them meeting in the sequels and Luke saying, "You are shorter than I expected." They could meet, for sure. And Star Wars Politics follows up and says, Dave is very careful about making sure the continuation is airtight. But yeah, that continuation is still airtight. They don't meet in the sequels. Thrawn and Luke don't meet in the sequels. There's no line like that. He says, but Luke is busy training. True. But Luke wasn't really all that busy when we saw him with Grogu. He didn't have his Jedi Temple yet. He hasn't started training Ben Solo yet. He was still creating his Jedi Temple. So he's got some free time. He's got the time. He's got the time for sure. Because right now he's going around the galaxy looking for artifacts and all this stuff. And now he's finally about to start his Jedi Temple. But he hasn't started it yet. He's not training kids yet. His first apprentice is still Ben Solo. And he's still not of age. So it is possible. It is possible we see Luke versus Thrawn. I'm putting my stamp on it, I think we'll see a Luke versus Thrawn for sure. If not, a Luke versus like a Jorah Sabaoth or something along those lines. So many years prior to the sequels, does the big Thrawn fight? How many years prior to the sequels does the big Thrawn fight happen? So this big Thrawn threat could actually be pushed back a few years. We know he's going to be brought into live action in the Ahsoka show and kind of fleshed out as this big powerhouse in that show. And then the Skeleton Crew show will adventure through the New Beyond. Maybe have Thrawn in it, maybe not. And then the Mandalorian Season 4 will definitely have Thrawn in it. And then it will probably lead into a movie. I certainly hope it would end on the big screen. But that's talking about like 2025 maybe. And that means, of course, the first season of The Mandalorian, it's not actually like specified. I think it's 5 to 7 years after Return of the Jedi. So if that's 5 to 7 years, let's add it like another 5 years at least towards the end here. So 10 years, and there's about 29-ish years, I think it is, 30-ish years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So you're talking still a solid 15 to 20 years before The Force Awakens. So this is still a long, long time before we get to old hermit Luke after Jedi Temple's gone. It's many, many years before this. It's many, many years before the sequel trilogy. That's for sure. So yeah, the timelines aren't going to collide. We're not going to be like, oh, there's the sequel trilogy, we got to go straight to that. There's still time in there. There's still time to do other crazy things. There's still time to have Luke get his Jedi Temple. There's still time for his Jedi Temple to be destroyed. All that can still happen after all these events that happen with Thrawn. All these events happen with Din Djarin and the Mandalorian. This is still a time frame before Luke even starts his Jedi Temple, if that answers your question. There's still time. There is still time, for sure, for sure. So now we got more people in here. Anybody else got any more theories about The Bad Batch Episode 3 or even this whole Thrawn versus Luke thing? Anybody got anything about any of this? Because we talked about The Bad Batch at the opener of the video, and now we're talking about this crazy news. Okay, we could talk about this Jedi Fallen Order news. Have any of you guys seen this? Or Jedi Survivor, I should say. So Jedi Survivor could be a little violent. Star Wars Politics says, I guess I just wanted it to happen before the sequels. Oh yeah, it's definitely happening before the sequels, that's for sure. But yeah, we got some news right here. Whoops. This is coming from Galactic Transmission on Instagram. Definitely go follow this guy. He's the best around. Just kidding. But Darth Lopez says, Bad Batch is not for me. It's boring. I get that, Darth Lopez. A lot of people actually think the same as you. I get that. No disrespect here. I understand where you're coming from. But let's talk about this for a second. Jedi Survivor. Are we hyped for this? Of course we're hyped for this. Jedi Survivor's the best. It's going to be the best. Jedi Fallen Order is the best. That's why we're going to be streaming it soon. I promise you guys it's soon. It receives a teen ESRB rating. So the coming up Star Wars game has received a teen rating and features mild language and violence. So this is actually different than the first game. The first game wasn't rated this. So this is actually going to be a darker sequel to the original game, which is kind of interesting. It's going to be more violent. It's going to have some mild language. But why would it be more violent than the first game? It's very interesting, and it's going to be very interesting to see what that is all about and why it is so violent and what it's actually talking about when it means violent. Is Cal Kestis going to lose an arm, like most cool characters in Star Wars do? Is he going to lose a leg? Is he going to lose an arm? Are other characters going to have some gruesome deaths with like heads chopping off maybe? Because, of course, Revenge of the Sith goes hard with a head being chopped off at the beginning and Anakin being burnt alive at the end. So a lot of darker things happen in that movie, leading it to be PG-13. So maybe, just maybe, you get Jedi Survivor to have this darker rating because maybe somebody gets burned alive, maybe somebody's head gets chopped off, maybe Cal Kestis's arm gets chopped off and there's a lot of blood everywhere. There has to be a big reason for this rating, and it has to be involved in the storyline and important to the storyline for them to keep the scenes in there and keep this rating so high. Because of course a lot of kids like Star Wars, and a lot of kids like to play Star Wars games, like the Lego Skywalker Saga game, and now this Jedi Survivor sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. But they can't play it if their parents are strict and don't let them play teen games. So maybe they're cutting off a portion of the fan base by making it teen, but they're also keeping it darker. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that are you going to pick up Jedi Survivor? Let me go there first. Are you going to pick up Jedi Survivor? And are you going to play Jedi Survivor? That's the first question. And the second question is, do you think it's a good thing that it's this darker tone and this teen rating, or do you think it's a bad thing? And do you think that they could be hurting their viewership? What do we think about this whole rating thing of this? And then we got one more little bit of news, and then we'll get on out of here. Star Wars Politics, you're not going to play? You're not playing Jedi Survivor? Why not? What? Did you not play Fallen Order? Did you not like Fallen Order? Wow, this is crazy. This is crazy. This just in. This is crazy. Are we actually not excited for the... we're going to have to pull this up. Hang on. We're pulling this up. Pull it up. Jeez, I thought this was an easy one. Are you going to play Jedi Survivor? Yes, no. I thought that everybody was playing this thing. Jeez. Darth Lopez says, me neither. I have toddler boys. They run my life. Okay, well that makes sense. But you can't find some time to play Jedi Survivor? Jeez. Star Wars Politics says, exactly. I have kids. Don't have the time. Okay. Well that's different story. I don't have kids. So I'm gonna play the hell out of this game. Jeez, I did. Okay. Jeez. Okay. All right. Well then, I guess that's craziness. So yeah, I thought this game was gonna be played by all, but I guess if you have kids, you can't play it. No games for you. No video game playing for you guys. Once you have a kid, all the fun goes out the window, I guess. Just kidding. Whoa. All right, well, let's do this last bit of news then, and we'll get on out of here. So this is a little bit about the Skeleton Crew, how that production is going. Well, let's talk about it. So this is again coming from Galactic Transmission. Skeleton Crew to finish filming March of 2023. This show will reportedly started filming later than planned and was wrapped and will be released in late 2023. So that's the news. So let's talk about it. They're napping right now. That's why I'm able to chat. Okay, well thanks, Dr. Lopez. Yeah, so a lot of production issues from what we've heard on Skeleton Crew. Doesn't seem too good to me. Production issues never are good news, but it seems to be a common occurrence with Lucasfilm. So who knows what's going on there? But it's set to be done filming in 2023, in March of 2023. So this means, for timetable purposes, it'll be very late 2023 that we'll get this show, because all the post-production stuff is a long process, and it's definitely going to take a long time. And I see the Ahsoka show coming out probably June, that Obi-Wan Kenobi time frame, or even in August, that Andor time frame from this last year. And then Skeleton Crew will end the year. Skeleton Crew will end the year probably in November or December and go into next year, I think at least, because it's ending filming so late, and it started filming so late, and there was all that production errors and all that stuff. Star Wars Politics saying, I can't play campaign style games. Takes too much time. I just watch the cutscenes. Yeah, true. Campaign style isn't really my style. I don't like playing games by myself. I like playing with the boys or the girls. And but streaming them with you guys is going to be just like playing with the boys and the girls. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to do that and stream that game, because it took me a long time to play Jedi Survivor, because again, didn't have the time, didn't like the campaign style games playing by myself. I didn't like that stuff. But now I played it because I just wanted to, and I've heard so many good things about it, and it was definitely worth it. I can't wait for the sequel, and I can't wait to stream it with you guys. So yeah, let's hype. Any last things? Lopez Politics, thanks for hanging out with us today. Glad to see people in the chatting it up. It's been a great start to 2023. I can't deny it. The channel's been booming, and it's been a lot of fun, and I love you guys coming in and hanging out with us on these live streams. So yes, we're going to be going live on Thursday at 1 p.m. also, and we're going to be talking about the Bad Batch newest episode. We're going to be talking about all the new news that will come out over these next couple days, because we actually didn't even get into all the news that I wanted to. It's just been so long. Thank you, Darth Lopez. Great show. You're a great show. Ever think of that? Yeah. No. All right, so we're going to get on out of here. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for being here. Of course, smash like if you like this video, hit subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, and my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. Go watch that unboxing video of this lightsaber. It was pretty epic. You might want to go check it out. And nobody even mentioned the thumbnail of that video. Come on, somebody go. That thumbnail of that video was supposed to be intriguing enough to get a comment at least. Jeez. But yeah, go check out that video. Go check out the video I talked about of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau getting a new TV show. We'll talk about that on Thursday a little bit more. But yeah, get on out of here. May the Force be with you. Always.